With key departures and gaps to fill, Ohio State must target high-impact players in the transfer portal.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Simply visit FanDuel.com to get started. During today's show, we'll get an early look at Tennessee with Eric Cain of Locked On Vols, as well as discuss the Buckeyes' pursuit of winning a national championship. But before we get to any of that, it's all about the transfer portal, which opens today, as the Buckeyes are going to have key gaps and key spots to fill, and they must target high-impact players in the portal to fill those holes and to fill those gaps, because you're going to have to do something a little bit different this year to fill the amount of gaps Ohio State's going to have, because Ohio State's going to have a lot of guys graduate, go off and do a lot of great things outside of Columbus. The Buckeyes also going to have a lot of guys that could return to Columbus next year say, I'm going to the NFL. Talking about starters, not just the Kojo Antwees and Jayden Ballards and Gabe Powers that have already entered the portal. Powers a good big guy on special teams. Jayden Ballard had been a good big guy on special teams previously. All of a sudden now, those three guys are gone. I think more guys will go to the portal that are currently in Columbus. You put all that formula together, guys going to the NFL, guys graduating, guys going to the portal, tap into the portal to fill said holes. I think it's that simple. I think it's so easy for Ryan Day and the coaches to attack the portal right now with an aggressiveness that might not be normal. As Ohio State under Ryan Day really hadn't been super, I would say, as aggressive as they could be or should be in the portal. Even last year, they weren't overly aggressive. They took advantage of Nick Saban retiring. They filled holes with some quality players, but they weren't overly aggressive. Now, I think right now there needs to be an aggressive nature to the portal that they hadn't seen before. Go out there and fill some holes with some guys in the portal. Maybe get a couple pass rushers. Get a quality defensive tackle. This is not saying that Kate McDonald, or Edric Houston aren't going to play next year. No, it's just saying that you can go to the portal and bring in a guy that's an immediate impact guy that can play now. Because sometimes you go to the portal and you think you have a guy that can play, but he's a project, and then you find out, he's never going to make it. But then there are guys that you go to the portal and you realize, homie can play right now. He can contribute immediately, and that should be the mindset. What guys out there can contribute immediately to fill the gaps on the roster that we currently have, and go out there and bring that guy in? And when I think about the gaps Ohio State's going to have to fill to key positions, quarterback, receiver, your left tackle, who could be at Columbus next year. He's already gone to the NFL. Left guard, your right tackle, one of your tight end spots, a running back, potentially another running back of Quinshon Judkins, a defensive end, a D tackle, potentially another D tackle. I do think Tyler Williams is gone. He could play in Columbus next year. I think he's done playing college football. Tuimoloau's gone. Cody Simon's gone. Sunday Styles could stay. He could go. I think he's going to stay. I think he should stay. Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom, they're gone. And then Jordan Hancock, I think he's gone, but he could also stay too. That's a lot of players. In totality, if the guys that I think are on the fence of going or leaving, if they all go, and Quinshon Judkins, Tyleik Williams, Sonny Styles, and Jordan Hancock, if all those guys go, that helps you have a better grasp about how important it is that Ryan Day doesn't waste the transfer portal this year. You can't go into this and say, oh, we could miss on this guy, or we can miss on that guy, because we believe in our high school recruiting. This isn't the time for that. You add in a 4-game losing streak to Michigan, and Ryan Day's tenure right now being a little more shaky than some thought it would be in year 6. You can't miss. This isn't a time for messing things up. You must go out there and attack this thing like you are the Ohio State University, like you are the head coach of the biggest brand in the sport, or one of the biggest brands in the sport. You must go out there and take advantage of the Blocko on your shirt, on your hat that you walk in when you go into a school. You must take advantage of everything that you can. The boosters, the collectives, take advantage of everything. Because if you miss on guys on the portal right now, Ohio State might be set back in a way next year that it could be a 9-3 year. Look back at Larry Coker down there in Miami. 9-3. I think he had back-to-back 9-3 years. They kicked him up out of town. Now, Larry Coker also won national champ and won a national championship, lost one to Ohio State. But Larry Coker had some success. And there were some comparisons to Ryan Day and Larry Coker previously. One thing you know about Larry Coker, he didn't, when he got to the first national championship, he won. Unfortunately for Ryan Day, it's not on Ryan Day's fault. That comparison isn't good for this one because, well, Ryan Day got hit by the COVID. And the COVID hurt Ohio State in a big way. Only played 5 regular season games, 8 games total that year, 7 leading into the national championship. And then you're realizing you're going to be without some key guys due to the COVID. Hey, man, that's not good. But a 9-3 year in Columbus, that's detrimental. That can lead to disaster. But Ryan Day can avoid that. Ryan Day is not a trash coach. You guys have heard me on here quite a bit talk about Ryan Day and be very open about some things that he has done that don't sit well with me. I will also not be a guy that's going to shy away from the reality that Ryan Day is not a trash coach. Ryan Day is a good coach that has failed numerous times in some big games during his first job coaching in college football, head coaching job. But also Ryan Day can right the wrong. Ryan Day can fix certain things. Use the portal. You trust your high school recruiting, but also trust your evaluation of guys that have already played college football, which should make that evaluation a whole lot easier because you're not comparing high school tape to what a guy might be in college. You're looking at college tape and saying, oh, I know what he is in college. Does he fit into what we want to do? Yes. Bring him in. If he fits and you like his film, bring him in. It could just lead to more competition. And there's nothing wrong with having a culture that breeds more competition. Because if I am a coach, I want you to compete. I was at a practice earlier this year, and all of a sudden, this guy goes to the coach. They're about to watch film. He's like, "Oh no, coach. He wants to compete for my job." I'm thinking, compete for your job? I just got done practicing. I had to alter practice because of the rain. I went inside to watch film. And then all of a sudden, what else happened? Somebody wanted to compete for your job. And at this school, they did board drills, head-to-head, 1-on-1, best 2 out of 3. And I sat there and watched these guys that were on a trash team previously, a program that really, as one person said, was the laughing stock of the school. That's pretty embarrassing for a football program. And then all of a sudden, these guys wanted to compete. One guy already had a starting spot. Another guy wanted to compete for that starting spot. Now, the guy that already had that spot he kept that role. But I'm sitting here thinking, first-year coach coming in, I don't know what to expect. I like what I see. These guys are believing, they're buying into what you're doing early in preseason practice. I am here for it. And so for Ohio State, there should be nobody in Columbus that is there next year that is saying, I'm going to shy away from competition. Yeah, you're going to bring somebody in that's trying to have the spot that I was going to be in next year. O-line spot, quarterback, whatever it is. I'm going to be in that spot. Homie's graduating or homie's going to the NFL. That's my spot. And all of a sudden, Ryan Day says, we're bringing him in. We're bringing him in. And you're saying, bringing who in? Him? That guy? He's coming in here to take my spot? Oh, absolutely not. And the next thing you know, these guys start competing. These guys start fighting. These guys start pushing each other. Why? Because they want to play. And that's going to lead to more competition on the field on Saturday afternoons in the fall. That's going to lead to the better play, guys developing each other, guys doing everything they can to help their team get better. That's what you want. You want the best to want to play at Ohio State. And if you have a culture of competition, that's going to help bring out the best of everyone in that room to help them be the best in the country. And as Ohio State is pursuing the route next year with the portal to be the best in the country at every position, they have a shot to win a national championship and to end the year as the best team in the country. And that pursuit continues as the committee announced that Ohio State will play Tennessee in the shoe in the first round of the CFP. This episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites, from legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. And an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. Thank y'all for tapping into Locked On Buckeyes here on this Monday after Selection Sunday, for making this show your first listen of the day. And as this show is your first listen of the day, we're starting the day early talking about the transfer portal, but also continuing the conversation about Ohio State playing Tennessee in the first round of the college football playoff. If you missed our instant reaction show yesterday, it dropped in our feed early in the afternoon, live on the YouTube, reacting to Ohio State playing Tennessee. Go check it out. Get my first early thoughts, but also realizing that Ohio State has the opportunity to win a national championship this year. As sour as a taste is from that Michigan loss, that did not mess up Ohio State's chances to win a national championship. The committee saw Ohio State is still one of the best teams in the country, which should make everybody happy that Ohio State, a 10-2 team in Columbus, can still win the national championship. And as Ohio State pursues that goal, everybody must do their part. Everybody inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center must do their part for Ohio State to win the national championship. Coaches, the players, the support staff, whoever it is, everybody must do their part. Because if you do your part, I firmly think Ohio State can beat every team in the country when everyone does their part. The issue is that comes up, sometimes there are moments that not everyone does their part. The Oregon game, there were things that were done where everyone didn't do their part. The Nebraska game, there were times that everyone didn't do their part. Ohio State still won. The Michigan game, there were times that a lot of people did their parts. Some people didn't do their parts. All of a sudden, Ohio State didn't win. I have a belief in this team this year right now that I didn't know I would have at this point in the year, because it's a strong belief, but it's also a little shaky. It's wavering a little bit, which doesn't sit well with me, but also in the pursuit of Ohio State going out and trying to win a national championship. One thing Ryan Day said during the pressure that got everybody's attention, because it got mine too, is that Ohio State might make more changes on the offensive line. And before getting to what those changes might be, those of y'all that are watching right now on the YouTube, you can see my demeanor changed, because what is going on might cause Ohio State to lose a game in the playoff. Why would you roll out here with a different offensive line when the guys that were on the team in December, in November, in October, in September didn't win a role, didn't win at all, didn't win a starting spot? Now, potential moves, as I went back and looked at some of the Ryan Day presser, Luke Montgomery and Josh Padilla are a couple guys that might be competing for a starting role. Makes me nervous. Gives me shades and thoughts of last year going to the Cotton Bowl, when all of a sudden we heard that Carson Hinsman would not be the starting center. And I thought, oh, so we're going to do things that might cause us to lose, because you're rolling into a game with a new guy playing center. And that was a recipe that didn't work well for Ohio State. It was just a really weird game as well. But Ryan Day said Luke Montgomery, Josh Padilla, a couple guys that could start. I think Josh Padilla, if he were to play, he would go to center. Luke Montgomery, if he were to play, he would go to left tackle. You put Donovan Jackson at left guard. My gut says you're moving Carson Hinsman back to right guard and moving Tagovailoa, but I don't know what the right answer is. Because when I heard that Donovan Jackson was going to stay at left guard, I'm thinking, so you're going to put in a new guy at left tackle. Who's playing center and who's playing right guard? Because if Donovan Jackson goes back to his spot, there's 3 of the spots that are up for grabs, because I don't think Carson Hinsman has done enough to lose a spot on the offensive line. I think Tagovailoa is not a better option than Carson Hinsman. But once again, early in the year, I made some comments about, hey, Hinsman needs to start. Hinsman needs to start. The coaches didn't make that move. They were forced to do it due to injury. Hinsman needs to play. If you move Tegra, cool. I'm cool with that move. But I'm not okay putting a new guy there at center. This isn't the time to try and experiment. You're trying to win a national championship. Now, for the defense, for the offense, everybody's excited. I mean, that goes without saying. You're sitting there, you watch the selection show, and you find out you're playing Tennessee, you're playing at home. That's a major luxury, massive luxury. But all of a sudden, man, I'm thinking more offensive line changes could lead to disaster for Ohio State, could lead to a loss against Tennessee, could lead to a win against Tennessee. Whatever the outcome of that game is, I don't really care. I don't want to think that far. Haven't made a prediction for that game. The one thing I have done is this. I have made up my mind that this is not the right time to make more offensive line changes. I'm tired of talking about the offensive line. No, it wasn't great against Michigan. But most teams don't have great offensive line play against Michigan. Put it in context. That's a really good team. And the coaches didn't get the job done. So to make some reshuffling and moving things around right now, to me, it's a questionable coaching move. Now, these coaches get paid a lot of money, and it may lead to some big, massive wins down the road. But on the surface, nah, man. Nah, I'm not sure about that one. Outside of that, though, Ohio State controls their own destiny. Ohio State is in the driver's seat right now. Yes, their path to win a national championship is very, very tough. Let's just say that Ohio State does beat Tennessee in the 8-9 matchup of the college football playoff. They'll get a rematch with Oregon in the Rose Bowl. That's going to make you nervous, huh? Because it makes me nervous. We saw Oregon play Penn State in the Big Ten Championship, and I'm sitting there thinking, Oregon is looking better, way better than I thought they were going to look. Anyways, if Ohio State does get a rematch with Oregon, that's great. That'll be the Rose Bowl. That'll be on New Year's Day. That'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN/ABC. And then also, if they do win that, they could end up playing Texas, because I think Texas is going to beat Clemson. I think Texas is going to beat Arizona State. And then ultimately, we look at the bottom part of the bracket. The only 2 teams that I think are real legitimate threats to make it to the national championship are Notre Dame and Georgia. So Ohio State could realistically have to play the number 9 seed, the number 1 seed, and then either the number 2 or number 7 seeds to win the national championship. That's not an easy test. It's not an easy road. Not an easy road at all. Georgia has 2 losses. Texas has 2 losses. Oregon's undefeated. Notre Dame has 1. There's only one 3-loss team here in this field, that is Clemson, and they got in, which is something that leaves me scratching my head because I wasn't expecting it. But what I am expecting, I'm expecting Ohio State to roll into the shoe with a mindset, with a level of play that Ohio State fans haven't seen before, because it's so superior than anything the Buckeyes put out there during the previous 12 games that the Buckeyes have played this year. Ryan Day, Will Howard, Emeka, Egbuka, Travion Henderson, Donovan Jackson, Tuimoloau, all these guys out here, can't forget Caleb Downs. All of these guys at Ohio State are ready, are eager, are hungry. They're thirsty to get back on the field and to show everybody, not just the Buckeye fans, but to show everybody that Ohio State is one of the best teams in the country, and they're going to put up a big fight against Tennessee, and they have a great game plan to end that game victorious. Because I believe Ohio State, at their best, can beat Tennessee, can win a rematch with Oregon, and can win the national championship. That's at their best. And I believe Ohio State's ready to bring their best against Tennessee and also bring their best throughout all of the playoffs. One thing we can't do, though, we can't look past Tennessee. Now, if I do say potential rematch with Oregon, that's something that has to come up in the show. The coaches and players must take one game at a time. Because if they don't take one game at a time, that's a recipe for disaster, and it could be the end of the Buckeye season. Before the Buckeye season is over, they have a game with Tennessee on December 21st in prime time on ABC. And it's time to get an early look at Tennessee. How good are the Vols? Who are some of the best players on the team? Eric Cain of Locked On Vols is going to join us to talk about Tennessee and what makes them a team that is worthy to be the number 9 team in the CFP bracket. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it's all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. All of the action goes down at FanDuel.com, and some of you might be trying to put some money on Ohio State's first-round college football playoff matchup with Tennessee. The Buckeyes are currently 7.5-point favorites, and you can put that $5 bet right there on FanDuel, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. All the action goes down once again at 2 places on the FanDuel Sportsbook app and at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now, everyone had some type of emotional reaction when they saw Ohio State hosting a playoff game, and then your emotions may have gone up or they may have gone down when you found out the Buckeyes are playing Tennessee. And here with us to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers and the Ohio State matchup in the first round of the college football playoff, it's Eric Cain. He's the host of Locked On Vols. And Eric, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about this matchup in the first round of the playoff.
Yeah, Jay, I mean, as a college football fan, this is the best, right? I mean, granted, I wish Tennessee was hosting a playoff game, and there was a conversation for that, in regards to Ohio State or Penn State or whoever. But at the end of the day, the best part about this 12-team playoff is the fact that you get to host games and get to travel in the first round. I think that's awesome. So the college football fan in me, I am pumped to go on the road, see a venue that I've not seen, see a really good football team, and hopefully a really good football game with the Rose Bowl on the line. I mean, that's exciting, right? Now, as far as the matchup, Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country. I think Tennessee can win the game, but I think it's going to be super, super challenging. I know Tennessee's, and really the SEC in general, it's just so hard to win on the road. Mm-hmm. So we've seen Tennessee go on the road and lose 2 games this year, 1 to Arkansas and 1 to Georgia. So, road woes dating back really throughout Josh Heupel's tenure here. It's not been great for Tennessee. But with Tennessee's defense, I know Ohio State's got a really good defense, but with Tennessee's defense and, Dylan Sampson at running back and Nico at quarterback, who's playing very, very well right now, I think this will be a great football game. So I'm excited. I'm pumped. And, the winner at the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day, sign me up.
Let's stick right there with Nico. I'm very curious to hear, to dive into more of his game and look at his film from throughout the season. One of the guys that was really highly sought after when he was in high school, got there to Tennessee, and he seems like he's been doing a lot of good things this year. Made Tennessee fans really happy to have him there in Knoxville. How would you assess his play this year?
Yeah, he's getting better, man. He's getting better. He's playing his best football right now. He started off super hot against the UTCs, the Kent States, really the NC States as well. Everybody thought NC State was going to be a playoff team, but that was certainly not the case. He got into SEC play, and he looked like a first-year starting quarterback, making silly mistakes at times, not reading the field, making really, really good plays and then making a bad play. But throughout the course of the conference schedule, man, he's grown up. He's made a lot of big throws to win football games, made a couple of big throws to win Tennessee the game against Alabama. I thought all things considered, Tennessee lost, but how he handled the game and the environment and the offense down to Georgia, I thought was really impressive. He had 4 total touchdowns, career high for him against Vanderbilt in the regular season. So he's playing some really good football. Best thing about him is, he can make all the throws. I wouldn't say that the deep shots, Tennessee will take deep shots. They haven't connected on too many of them this year, but they will take them. But his intermediate to the boundary throws, those are NFL throws. His escapability, they won't call true design run plays, maybe 1 or 2 a game, if that. but his escapability and able to, on 3rd and 7, I'm going to tuck and run and just go move the sticks. That's been something Tennessee's offense has lacked since Hendon Hooker. So he's a playmaker, man, and he's playing much better football now than he was at the beginning of the season. And of course, he's only going to get better in my opinion. So it's good for Tennessee that he's playing his best ball.
What are some of the best parts of the Tennessee offense?
Dylan Sampson. Tennessee will ride Dylan Sampson the entire game. He is such a warrior. 22 rushing touchdowns. I mean, leads the SEC, leads the SEC in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns and rushing attempts, all-purpose yards. He's a baller, man. He's tough. He's got good vision. He's really good after first contact. I think I'll have to double check the stats, so don't quote me, but I want to say like after first contact, he's nearing 1,000 yards. Like
oh wow.
He's really, really talented after first contact. But nonetheless, Dylan Sampson's a really good player. That offensive line, he can't do it alone. They rush block very well, run block. Tackles, pass protection's been a little bit of a whirlwind all year long, but running the football, very good. And Tennessee's use of the tight ends, Miles Kitzelman, Holden Stays, Ethan Davis, they'll play they'll play 3, but 2 primarily. And they are a huge focal point in the run game. And that's somebody that Nico likes over the middle of the field in the short intermediate passing game to Miles Kitzelman. So, Dylan Sampson, the offensive line and run blocking, and of course the use of the tight ends.
On the flip side, let's go to defense really quickly. So one of those matchups that I'm going to be watching all game long leading into Ohio State and some potential moves that Ryan Day may make on the offensive line. I'm not a fan of what I've heard about potentially 4 of your 5 offensive line spots being different from the Michigan game to the Tennessee game. Makes me a little nervous. But when it comes to Tennessee's defensive line, I think a lot of Buckeye fans are curious how consistent that unit has been. Consistently good, consistently kind of in the middle, bad. Where would you say that unit has been all year?
The Tennessee defensive line?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's been top notch. Now they've had some off games at Georgia. I mean, it was a bad game. I think they had like 2 TFLs, no sacks. That was bad. But overall, I mean, that's kind of what you hang your hat on if you're Tennessee. You've got Rodney Garner, who is a veteran SEC defensive line coach. And I kid you not, man, he will play 13 or 14 guys in the football game up front. They rotate they'll do line shifts. If it's a 5-6 play drive, he'll take 4 in, take 4 out, put 4 fresh in. And it's really intriguing because he wants these guys to be fresh and ready to go as the game goes along. James Pierce is going to be a first-round NFL draft pick on the edge. I think he's got like 7 sacks this year. Not as many as we thought he was going to get, but obviously he's somebody to pay attention to. Joshua Josephs, who also plays off the edge, is a really dynamic player. In the interior, Tennessee's got Omar Norman-Lott, who's going to be a draft pick, Amari Thomas, Bryson Eason. Those guys are, a handful. And then on the other side from the Leo position, the other defensive end spot, Tennessee plays 3 guys, and a guy like Jason Jenkins has truly emerged. So, again, I just threw out probably 7-8 names right there. Tennessee plays 13, and that's the strength of that defense. It all starts up front, and that defensive line really helps the secondary that is brand new this year compared to last year, and it's probably got an All-American and quarterback Jermon McCoy.
Let's go to the secondary. Well, linebackers, too. You can't guard the guys that Ohio State has on the outside with just your secondary. But I'm very curious because I've said for a while that Will Howard should target Jeremiah Smith at least 10 times a game. And then I saw somebody else say target Egbuka 10 times a game. If you combine those two, that's 20 passes thrown to those 2 guys. I think they are 2 guys that deserve that amount of attention when you add in Carnell Tate. And I think Brandon Ennis, it's possible they use 4 receivers this week in this game, not consistently, but enough to keep Tennessee's defense off balance. How well do you think Tennessee can guard Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, and then Carnell Tate?
It's going to be tough, man. I mean, obviously, Tennessee's defense has got their work cut out for them. Their secondary, they've got to get a pass rush. They got to mix some things up, too. Tim Banks, he might win the Broyles Award this year as the nation's top assistant. He might be a head coach this offseason. Like, he's had that type of year. However, in certain games throughout Tennessee's career, or his career with Tennessee the last couple of years, sometimes he gets married in a scheme and he just kind of won't budge. You think Georgia this year where Tennessee, according to Pro Football Focus, splits 47% of the time. Didn't feel like that, but it felt like he hardly sent anybody from the second or third layer. That was the same case at Florida back in 2023. He kind of gets married to something and won't budge off it. Tennessee needs to mix some things up. Tennessee at its core, before it was a really good defense, was always an aggressive defense. And Tennessee needs to try to get back there, force Will Howard into making the wrong decision and going and trying to create opportunities in the back end. Jamal McCoy is a lockdown corner. He will be an All-American this year, in my opinion. Ricky Gibson on the other side. Both these guys are sophomores, by the way. Ricky Gibson is playing his best ball. He just continues to get better. Tennessee at safety, they're going to play 4 guys when healthy, so they're okay. They're not liabilities, but there's kind of a rotation there. And then Tennessee will play 2 nickelback players. One is a true freshman, Boo Carter, who's really physical, who will talk the trash, still learning on the fly, but he'll make some plays. And then Christian Harrison, who is the son of NFL legend Rodney Harrison. He's turned into a pretty good player. So Tennessee will throw some looks at him. They'll mix up the coverages. They'll blitz from the second, third layer, play some man in on the back end. But it all comes with, you've got to get after the quarterback. If you don't get after the quarterback, then Tennessee's defense will have a long day. And I think you can say that, this is the case for the majority of defenses, probably Ohio State as well.
Eric, I really enjoyed this, man. Look forward to having you on the show the week of the game. It's one of those games that I told you it makes me a little bit nervous. Not going to lie to you. I think Ohio State is good enough to win. I also think Tennessee can do some things that they could be victorious in this game as well. Look forward to getting Eric back on the show the week of this first-round matchup. It's at home with Columbus, which is a massive benefit for Ohio State, because if it was down there in Neyland Stadium, trust me, that'd be a massive wild scene as well. Eric, thanks for coming on the show, man. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, had fun, Jay. Anytime.
I really hope you enjoyed our little conversation with Eric Cain of Locked On Vols, getting an early look at Tennessee. We're definitely going to have Eric on the show once again to get a full breakdown, a full show of Eric and I going back and forth, talking about the Buckeyes and the Volunteers, leading into the final game in the first round of an expanded 12-team format in the playoff in 2024. Guys, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07 and on Blue Sky at jstevens07 as well. You can send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Monday. We'll see you next time.